Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden stories in company filings. Get ready, because Genprex is about to tell us if their stock option party is getting bigger or just a little bit weirder. So Genprex just had their annual meeting, and guess what they did? They approved a new version of their stock incentive plan. Now this might sound a bit corporate speak, but it's actually super important for how employees and executives get paid and for how the company can issue more stock. Think of it as giving the company more fuel to use for rewards. They are basically adding a bunch more shares to this plan. We're talking about an extra 6.5 million shares. What does this mean for you if you're a shareholder? This effectively dilutes your ownership stake a little bit when these new shares are issued. They also push the plan's expiration date further out all the way to 2035, and they got rid of some old rules about executive pay that aren't needed anymore because of tax law changes. This makes the plan simpler and more flexible for them. Now let's dive into the voting results from their meeting. They needed to elect a director, and William R. Wilson Jr. got the job. He'll be serving until 2028, unless something unexpected happens. Looking at the votes, almost 5.6 million votes were for him versus about 500,000 against, and a huge chunk, over 9.6 million votes from brokers who technically hold shares for clients but didn't get specific instructions on how to vote. This tells us that the management's pick for director was largely supported by those who cast a vote. Next up, they asked shareholders to approve their accounting firm for the year. It looks like Withum Smith plus Brown PC got the nod with a massive vote of over 14.2 million in favour. Only about 1.4 million were against it, and a very small number abstained. This is a pretty strong endorsement from shareholders for their auditors and signals confidence that the numbers are being crunched in a way that investors trust. Here's where things can get interesting. They had an advisory vote on executive pay. This means shareholders got to give their non-binding opinion on how the top executives were compensated. The results show about 4 million votes in favour and around 1.8 million against. Plus, there were about 300,000 abstentions and that same large block of broker non-votes again. While the majority voted for the compensation proposal, the near 2 million votes against it suggests that a significant portion of shareholders might feel the executive pay packages aren't quite aligned with the company's performance, or perhaps aren't as lean as they'd like. It's a signal that while not a rejection, it's a pretty clear message to management to pay attention to how they're compensating their leaders. This is directly related to what we talked about earlier, the new equity plan. Shareholders voted on this and it passed with about 4.3 million yes votes to 1.7 million no votes. So the plan to issue more shares for employee rewards got the green light from the majority of voting shareholders. Again, it's important to remember those broker non-votes are significant here, meaning a lot of shares controlled by brokers didn't actively vote on this specific proposal. Now, this next one is about a deal with Lincoln Park Capital Fund. Genprex got approval to issue more than 20% of its stock to this fund. This type of approval is needed because it's a significant amount of new stock being issued, and it needs shareholder consent to comply with NASDAQ rules. The vote was in favour with about 4.5 million votes for and 1.4 million against. This likely means these shares are going to be issued as part of an ongoing financing or investment agreement that Genprex has with Lincoln Park Capital. For shareholders, this is a big deal as it could bring in much needed capital, but it also means more dilution. And the final major vote was on a change to the company's core founding documents, its certificate of incorporation. Specifically, they got approval to do a reverse stock split. They can now choose to combine existing shares into fewer, more valuable shares. The ratio can be anywhere from 1 new share for every 10 old shares, up to 1 new share for every 50 old shares. This can be done any time before the end of 2026, and the board gets to decide if and when to do it and at what exact ratio. A reverse stock split is often done to boost a company's stock price to meet exchange listing requirements, or to make the stock appear more substantial to investors. It doesn't change the company's overall value, but it can change how the market perceives it, and it can also make the stock less accessible to smaller investors. Now let's put on our Warren Buffett hats and look at the bigger picture here. Genprex seems to be in a mode of restructuring and funding. They are approving plans to issue more stock, which directly impacts current shareholders through dilution, but it's likely aimed at raising capital to fund operations or growth initiatives. The executive compensation vote shows a slight disconnect between what management is paying itself and what some shareholders might deem fair, which is something to keep an eye on for internal alignment. The approval for a reverse stock split signals potential future struggles with maintaining a minimum stock price, or a desire to appear more substantial, but it's a move that can sometimes be a precursor to more challenges if the company's underlying business doesn't improve. They're clearly trying to manage their stock price and funding needs. What's the story here? Well, Genprex is actively seeking to manage its financial position and operational runway. They've secured shareholder approval for actions that give them flexibility in issuing stock and adjusting their share structure. This is critical for a company that might be growing or facing financial hurdles. The key risk for shareholders is ongoing dilution from share issuances aimed at raising capital and the double-edged sword of a reverse stock split, which can signal distress even as it aims to improve perception. The opportunity lies in whether this new funding and restructured equity plan will actually translate into successful business growth and profitability. Alright, that's our decode of Genprex's latest shareholder meeting. What do you think about these moves? Are they bold steps forward or just shuffling the deck chairs? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, give us a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the financial world. And don't forget to join our Discord community linked in the description for even more insights and discussions. Thanks for watching. See you next time.